International Labour Organization is a United Nations specialized agency dealing with labor issues. The ILO has been in existence since 1919 and has churned out 190 conventions so far. These conventions are meant to regulate and improve employment relationships in the workplace. These conventions also ensure that the rights of workers and employers are protected while maintaining harmony in the workplace. The broad policies of the ILO are set by the International Labour Conference, that is the ILC, which meets once a year in June in Geneva, Switzerland. As preparations are in top gear for the World Parliament of Labour that will bring together the tripartite delegations, that is government, employers and trade unions from the 187 member states, we thought we should bring you this episode. On your program policy on track today, we shall bring you the workings of the ILO, in particular the International Labour Conference, which is the highest decision-making body of the organization. Still to come is the plea by members of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, for urgent rehabilitation and reconstruction of the nation's federal highways, which they describe as death traps. My name is Mo Wilkie, your host, and you are welcome. Let's take stories making rounds in the world of work in the last 1 week. The Director General of the International Labour Organization, Guy Ryder, has told delegates they must assume the responsibility of the ILO social justice mandate if the benefits of transformative change at work are to be realized. At the opening ceremony of the International Labour Conference Monday, holding in Geneva, Switzerland, the DG notes that the world has entered an era where technology is generating innovative disruption of productive life. Mildred Oliphant, Minister of Labour of the Republic of South Africa, has been elected President of the ILC for the next 2 weeks. Former Zurich insurance boss Martin Sen has committed suicide 6 months after leaving the company under a cloud, a tragedy that comes less than 3 years after Zurich's finance chief took his own life. Sen, 59, shot himself in his family home. Reports show that he had quit as chief executive of Zurich Insurance in December following a series of profit warnings and a botched takeover of British rival. His death follows the suicide of Zurich's finance chief, Pierre Werther, in 2013, which brought into sharp focus the pressures facing senior corporate executives in Switzerland and elsewhere. Weeks before Werther's death, Swisscom chief executive Carsten Schlotter had taken his own life. From May 30 to June 10, 2016, government, employers and workers' representatives from 187 member states of the ILO will meet to discuss a series of world of work issues, often called the International Parliament of Labour. The conference will discuss topics including global supply chains, decent work for peace, security, and disaster resilience, as well as the impact of the ILO Declaration on social justice for a fair globalization, among other topics.
The International Labour Organization is the only United Nations agency that runs on tripartism. It comprises government, workers, and employers. The ILO has been at the forefront of setting rules and promotion structures that would ensure that industrial harmony prevails in any of its member countries. As already known, employment is a rule-based relationship. The rules define the rights of the parties involved, the procedures for managing conflicts, and opportunities for the parties to effectively engage themselves. The ILO sets a global standard for all.
Those standards are conveyed through the instrumentality of standards, right, with the ILO called conventions. Right. So through those conventions, ILO ensures that the rights of employers, the right of employees, and the imperative to maintain industrial harmony in the workplace is promoted and sustained all over the world. As of today, the ILO has churned out about 190 conventions. 8 of those conventions are considered to be fundamental conventions. And every member country of ILO can exercise the right either to ratify the conventions or not to ratify the conventions, with the exceptions of the 8 fundamental conventions, which include Convention 87 on freedom of association and Convention 98 on right of collective bargaining. Right? Every other convention of the ILO is subject to voluntary ratification by the member countries. But those 8 conventions, whether you have ratified or not, you are bound by those conventions, which is why the ILO has termed them fundamental conventions. And based on those conventions, the ILO in fact has evolved what they call the Declaration on the Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work. So those 8 conventions are really mandatory for implementation by all member countries of the ILO. Of the 190 conventions, Nigeria has only ratified 40 of those 190 conventions. It is duty-bound for you, when you have ratified ILO conventions, to domesticate those conventions within your country. What domestication means is that you must bring your national law in tandem with the provisions of those conventions. Of the 40 conventions that Nigeria had ratified, Nigeria had only domesticated 30 of those conventions.
The ILO uses the ILC as a means of promoting future issues to which it may want to set standards. The ILO standards procedures is elaborate and inclusive.
The ILO annual conference provides the opportunity for this tripartite constituent to meet and debate on issues that will shape the future world of work. That is extremely important. And why is it important? So that the key operators in the workplace will be able to claim ownership of ILO standards that will shape relationship in the workplace.
So how has Nigeria benefited from this tripartism, this meeting of government employers and
to the extent that the ILO had set a global standards which Nigeria had adopted, we've been able to create what I would call a very, very sane environment to promote the rights of all parties that are involved in employment relationship. Then there's a second aspect of it which is not probably too visible to outsiders. The ILO equally serves as a body to which any of the parties that is involved in employment relationship can complain to in the event of dissatisfaction with the context of work or the context of relationship in any member country. For example, if Nigerian employers have issue with government in the way government has been managing industrial relation or employment relation, the Nigerian employers can exercise the right to report the Nigerian government to the ILO. The workers equally can exercise the right to report the government. The government is behaving in a way that is not in line with global standards that have been set for the workplace.
Yes, for example, the Committee on Standards, application of standards. That's where the debates about country, either violation or circumvention or partial application of the basic standards in ILO. In fact, that is actually where the contestations go on about what has countries done, what have they not done right, and what would they do. For example, this year Nigeria is appearing on what is called double footnote. That double footnote, once you appear on double footnote, that means your case must come up. The Nigerian case will come up, and this has to do with the issue of implementation and how the workings of child labor in Nigeria. Where countries where there are extreme violations, those matters will come up, and ILO will work towards having a persuasive decision to that government.
The governing body of the ILO reviews the functioning of the conference in order to make it more efficient.
There was a time that Nigeria had representatives on the governing body. We had the employers, we had even labor, the workers' representative, and government. But one way or the other, we lost all those positions. What are we doing to get a seat, knowing the role of members of the governing body?
Yeah, using the word lost is not correct. You know, the international politics, the dynamism, those positions come to Africa, and we held them and exhausted our period. So naturally, we will support other African countries to hold. And, you know, even if you are the strongest country, if you abuse it, even the smaller countries can organize a gang up against you. So, but what is important is our activism within the committee. Our activism makes it that whosoever is the governing board looks towards us. In the past 3 years, for example, we have been like, especially the Nigerian Labour Congress, the beautiful bride in the Committee of Application of Standards. You know, there, if countries have cases in the presentation, they look for countries that have respect and strong voice to represent. Interestingly, in our own case, for the past 3 years, the chairman of our own subcommittee chairman on application and standard happened to be the now president of NLC. So he has heard that, so that makes it easier for him to follow the process and this. And I know by the time the tenures of the governing board will be ending, strategically, we've stayed off and allowed other people will be involved. But suffice it to say, we're in the member of the governing board of ITUC International, which is even the clearinghouse of most workers' positions.
The agenda of the 105th session of the ILC includes decent work, global supply chains, which is on general discussion amongst others.
From the 28th of this month,
yes,
the Nigerian delegation will be going for the ILC.
Yes.
And you will be leading the delegation. What is the agenda for Nigeria as you go to the ILC?
As we go to the ILC, the agenda for Nigeria is for us to make it known to the rest of the world that we are in conformity with the rest of the world, that workers all over the world should have decent job. The theme of the conference is decent job for everybody. And by decent job, it means a worker. I'm also a worker, you know. So a worker, everybody should be able to work, do equal job, equal pay. You work, you are paid commensurately. And in making sure you are paid commensurately, you are also given a good working condition. A place of work is made equable for you. You rest when you're supposed to rest. You do the number of hours of work, which by ILO stipulation is 8 hours in a day. And you have your holidays when you're supposed to have your holidays. That's Saturdays, Sundays, or 2 days in a week. And so the Nigerian delegation is going there. We're going there also to make it clear that all figures are not equal. We are having what is like an economic downturn now, moving us into a recession, but we are resisting going into a recession. Therefore, the other countries in the world, that they do not subjugate the weaker ones. We are part of OPEC, some are not part of OPEC, and some are on price war on oil. These are issues that will come up because if you have an economic downturn, if you have a recession, there is no way to not affect the working force.
To the employer this year, the star topic at the conference is the discussion on decent work in global supply chain. And I do know that as it is a star topic to the employer, it is also a star topic to the workers. And I can bet it that the committee on that topic will probably parade the largest participation at the conference. But the good thing again is that this topic at this stage is at the level of general discussion, in which case it has not attained that level where you'll be considering an instrument for it. Because the outcome of it will just be conclusions rather than recommendations or convention. But that's really the starting point, and it's extremely important for you to lock into the starting point in order for you to shape the eventual outcome, which might probably be a recommendation or convention in times to come. But for now, we're just talking of a general discussion, just like a general debate. But future discussions on it, which might probably lead to a convention or a recommendation, we have to build on the outcome of the discussion that will be held this year. So for the employers, it's a key issue. Why is it a key issue? In the world of business today, companies have embraced outsourcing, offshoring as a means of survival and as a means of enhancing values for customers. And you now have a situation where a company that owns a product might probably just own the brand for that product. The actual manufacturing of the product is probably being done elsewhere. And the ILO has realized the fact that it will be necessary to promote labor standards in any workplace anywhere in the world. And the basic concern of the employer is that some of the very, very high standards that the owners of the brands have been made to comply with might find themselves into the work context of their suppliers. And the truth about this is that this could translate to higher cost of production.
The conference receives distinguished guests, including heads of state and government.
Reports show that over 90% of the federal roads are in ruins, making it impossible for road users. Motorists and other road users spend most of their economic hours trying to maneuver their way around to convey their goods and services to and from major towns. Even the most careful driver is prone to accident on the country's highways. Leaders of road transport workers said the deplorable nature of the roads have negatively impacted their businesses while their vehicles depreciate within a short period. Huge maintenance cost is being recorded.
Most federal and state-owned roads have turned into debt traps, despite billions of naira earmarked for the maintenance every year. Most of these roads have become impassable due to neglect by authorities. Commuters spend valuable man-hours in distressing gridlocks due to large potholes in different segments of the roads. Leaders of road transport workers describe the poor state of the road as death traps and a nightmare. In fact, they say the carnages witnessed on the highways have become a permanent feature.
The federal roads are in a very deplorable condition, and bad roads are the causes of most of the crashes on the highways, and it's causing a lot of colossal loss to the transport subsector. That is what we are facing. Most of the roads are supposed to be dualized, and they are not even done. The little ones that are available are filled with potholes, and that is the graveyard of all the drivers are facing.
The roads are bad, most especially the federal road, which we all expected to be in good condition. Take for instance, from Ilorin down to Abuja, the road was so bad. In a good day, it's no more than 5-hour journey from Ilorin down to Abuja But if you are going through the road nowadays, you spend up to 11 to 12 hours. It's nothing because of other than the road is bad.
There's many complaints about the federal road, which our members used to apply from Lagos to Ibadan, Kwara, Kano, or any interstate of our vehicle through the Lagos state. That there are some areas who is affecting them so ever that's causing an accident, which the abandon after the past regime.
They are damaging some of my vehicles, tires, busting of tires, holes in the different federal roads across the country.
The union urged the federal government to step up efforts at rehabilitating the roads in order to ease transportation of goods and services. They added that a functional rail system will also ease pressure on the highway.
The simple thing is that the present government should take it very seriously in terms of road infrastructure, because that is the key for economic development. And so with bad roads, the country has nowhere to go. Not only the driver, because we are carrying everybody, both the rich and the poor, everybody use the road. And so if the roads are bad and claiming our lives, that means we are in a very pathetic situation. We don't want it. We want the government to try as much as possible to give us good roads so that we can be able to operate effectively and then contribute our quota to the economic development of this country.
We expect the federal government at least to repair the road, because we have been seeing this time. We learned the other time a federal minister of works and housing is trying to plan all the road from Abuja down to Lagos, from Lagos to just to see how bad it is.
Some that area is not good, which we appeal for them to do this road for us in time because of causing accident for our members applying the road.
So I'm appealing to federal government to look into these roads, because some of the roads causing an accident, causing hazards to Nigerians, prominent people. Like example, the other minister that passed away in the Kaduna highway is due to the bad road, the holes on the road. The tire will hit the road, motor will hit the road, then the tire will burst. It will cause an accident to our vehicles across.
What would be the impact of railroads? What would be the contribution of railroads to your business?
In fact, rail is the cheapest way of movement of goods and people from one destination to another with ease, especially for the poor people, so that it will bring down the cost of goods even, because that is the way the goods could be transferred from the north to the south and to the southeast.
There was a time I've advised the federal government that let all the goods ply through the rail, so that the passenger have to use the rail. Any six-wheel tire should be using the rail. Take for instance, the petroleum product have to be used through the rail, while the goods, every goods should be used through the rail, because there won't be any diversion. It will be safe and allow the passenger to use the rail. Every other 4 tires should be using the road. If we abide by this, I think our road will be longer and durable.
So we appeal to the government to address the road issue. Though the Minister of Works have been in this budget, they have earmarked a lot of roads that will be rehabilitated, constructed. So we appeal on the government to make sure that the roads will take care of our roads throughout this country.
President of the union Najim Yassim says if the roads are in good condition, transporters would be able to convey farm produce to different parts of the country with ease.
If the roads are good, definitely it will impact on our business, because there are some areas that because of the bad roads where they can transport goods, food items to the city, they cannot. And it makes it costly before it reaches the community. But if there are good roads, it will reduce more tension in the country.
As the rainy season sets in, it is hoped that the concerned authority would have swung into action to getting our roads fixed After all, this is the era of change when things are expected to work. Thank you for being there. Please don't forget to send your contributions and comments to us using any of our media platform network showing on your screen. I am Mo Ogbone Wilkie. Bye-bye.